Hi, welcome back. I'm Chris Sikora, and I'm going to step you through Exercise 8, AutoCAD 3D 2021. And so in this exercise, as you can see there, our goal is to create a boat. In this case, it's like a makeshift rowboat. So it's not finished or anything. But as you can see here, we're going to use the Loft Tool to do this. And I'm not going to go through everything that you see here, but let's go ahead and get started. First of all, the training guide I'm currently working on is not available just yet, but if you go to the vertanu1.com and then go to instructional manuals and then the Autodesk Inventor, for right now you could use that until you see the AutoCAD version up there, and it starts on page 80. All right, so here you can see this one was using Inventor, so we have planes, whereas in AutoCAD it doesn't work quite the same way, but we could still find substitutions for some of these things. All right, we have a series of planes offset. We're just going to actually offset each sketch, and as you can see here, we're going to draw 1/2 of it. And there's a lot of dimensions here we're not going to put in. We're just going to use the basics. And so let's start. I'm going to start with the new AutoCAD 3D. And I'm going to go ahead, go to the home button, go to top. Actually, I'm going to go back home here. We're going to rotate so we actually see the boat coming out towards us versus currently it's going to stand up straight. So if we go to the home tab, and then over here we could see where we could rotate. We want to rotate around the X. So let's go ahead and select, actually, you know what, let's have it come out to the left. So yeah, actually no, we'll have it rotate around the X. Click on the rotate around the X and make sure you drag this straight up, and so the Z is pointing to our right, lower right. Okay, click. Now our plane is off to that side. Let's go, and I like to start off with Wireframe, and we're going to go to the line tool here, and now turn on the snap, and get to that origin. Click and drag across here, and make it 2.5. And then hit escape and hit enter again. Snap to that point, drag it down, and just make this 2. If you can snap to it, that's fine. Oh, and enter again. Forgot to click. So get to 2 and click, and then hit escape. Now we're going to use the spline tool here. Now if you go to surfacing, there is the CV spline, which is very nice, and it actually gives you control points. We're not going to use that. We're just going to use the basics right now, but know that later on we're going to design a bottle, and I think exercise 10, and we'll probably end up using that, which gives you fantastic control capabilities. But this one right here is fine, so just the spline tool. And we want to start there, and actually we should turn off the snaps to the grid. Then snap to that point, and kind of make your way toward that end there. You could drag this in a little bit and finally click on that point. So I clicked on a few points, and then right click and enter. All right, and I'm going to hit escape, and if you click on that, you'll see that there are some controls that you could adjust. Be careful, I'm not going to adjust them because you have the potential to move them out of sync with the plane, and then it's not going to work. So if you do make adjustments to them, be very careful. For this one, let's just try and get this one done, and then you could tinker with those a little bit. And I'm just going to go to the left side here just to verify that. See, that's what I was afraid was going to happen. So let's go back and let's go home, and let's delete that. All right, now I'm going to go to the top view and then rotate this. And let's go back to the spline tool. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and click here. Now let's see if we have that same issue. I'm going to click down here, across here, and then connect, and then right click and enter the last one. And let's go to the right view orientation and just verify that it's flat. Okay, looks good. Now I've tried to copy and paste this, and I have done it successfully, but when I try and change the actual geometry, it's almost more difficult than it is to just redraw it for a new user. So knowing that many of you are new users to this, I'm not going to go through the copy and paste, but no, you can. It's just that it has a tendency to move some of the geometry and then it doesn't work right. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and move our work plane. So we're going to go over here to Z axis, and we're going to move this, and actually I should look at the training guide. It's going to be 6 inches. So we want it to move along here, get it to where it snaps, and type in 6 and hit enter. And now make sure that the Z is actually pointing, let's zoom out here a little bit, should be pointing to the right and snapping like this. So click. All right, and we've just offset our work plane essentially. Now we're going to go ahead and use the line tool again, but before we do that, let's take a look at our training guide. The next one, these are sections that we're drawing, by the way. And essentially this next section that we see here, it gets bigger. It's like 2.375 by 3 wide. Okay, so let's go to the line tool, get to that point, and we're going to have to use the snap again. And this will be 3, and actually I can snap to it. And I'm going to hit escape and hit enter again, connect to that point. And this next one will be, actually, let's just make it 2.5 to make it easy. And then hit escape. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit and zoom back in. Actually, it was really nice when we were looking at it normal too. So if you click on top and rotate it like that, now we could go back to the spline just so it doesn't snap to other points. Again, right here, click, and you could turn off that snap to grid. And you're just going to try and follow these edges again down to here, click, and then down and right click and enter to end the spline. All right, now let's just verify that it's flat. Go to the right, and both look nice and flat. Go to home, and let's get another one in here. Now the next one is going to be 8 inches, and this is where if you're going to make like an elongated, like let's say you're going to make a cigarette boat, you know, like one of the fancy speedboats, and you want to make that hull longer. This is where instead of 8 inches span it out, you could span it out maybe 12, and it's going to make a nice long hull. All right, now this next one's going to be very small, 0.6 by 0.675. So let's 0.6 by 0.7. We'll just round it off. All right, let's go to the line tool. Oh, we first have to move that. Let's go back to Z. And this one is 8. So get an alignment there, 8. Enter. And then make sure it's facing the same direction, the Z. Click. And now we could zoom out a little bit and get zoomed up on that region. I'm just using my mouse. Notice I point the mouse where I want to zoom up to while I scroll the wheel. Okay, and I know you can't see that on my pointer. So, okay, now let's go and we're going to set the grid back on. We have the line tool selected. Click on this. We'll make this, get it to the left. We'll make it 0.7. Enter. Hit escape. And now enter again, click on that point, and down 0.6, enter, and hit escape. And we'll go ahead and go to top again and rotate it clockwise. And now it's kind of hard to see, but you're going to be able to use the spline tool and snap to those points there. So there's, I believe that's one of them right there. And actually I'm going to turn off these snaps. All right, and let's find, there it is. Click on that point. You have to kind of scan through. Go down, click, drag, and now scan and find that point there. Click, and then down and right click, enter. All right, and you remember you can go back and edit these, but let's try and make it first, and then you could fiddle with it. All right, now we're going to go back home, And the point, we don't need to actually draw a point. The software actually gives us the option to put a point in as we're creating the loft. So lofts are basically take this type of geometry and make a solid across them. So hit underneath extrude and go to loft. Now we're going to go ahead and before we do this, hit escape. And at this point, let's save it. And save it as E8. I'm going to call mine E8B because I've already made this earlier. All right, now we could go back to loft. Oh, before that too, we want to go ahead and transition these to full closed contours. And so we want to use the join tool. So go ahead and select join. And I saved this just in case you want to reuse this geometry and modify it later. You could save as E8C or D and make multiple versions with this original one intact. Okay, and join, select this, hit enter, and hit escape. So I just select those, and you can see they're all there. And it still gives us the control points to adjust it, the spline. All right, and a spline, by the way, is a freeform geometry. Initially, splines were based off of polynomial splines, which some of you might remember from math class in high school, even when you dealt with polynomials. Those have transitioned over the years, especially around World War II, the development of curves for aviation and then the auto industry. And so you ended up going to what they call curvature continuity, and what they have now is G2, G3, and G4. And there's also T-splines, which I don't think T-splines are in here. This can handle, though, NURBs, which are non-uniform rational B-splines and things like that. So without going into too much detail, I'm not going to do that. Maybe when we do the bottle in exercise 10, I'll talk about that a bit more. Okay, so you could fast forward through it if you need to. Now let's go back to loft. Select the profile here, and I usually like to select near the same area on all of them. Click around there, and click here. And you can see the profile it's creating. Now, you'll find point. Click on point. And it says specifying endpoint. Now, in this case, we want it to be, I probably should have drawn another plane out here. In fact, I'm going to hit escape. Let's get that plane out there. And I know we could probably do it without creating this, but again, those of you who are using Inventor or some of the other plane-based systems, this is going to make more sense. So go to Z-axis, drag this forward, and we only want it 1 inch. And then make sure it's facing forward. Click. All right, now we should be able to do our loft. Click on the cross sections in order. And now go to point and specify the point. Now we're going to go to the grid snap and get right on that point. There we go. Now you'll see that you have guides, path, cross sections, settings, continuity. Remember that was the thing I was talking about. We're not going to go into that right now, but just make sure cross sections, you can just hit enter, and there it is. Okay, let's go to a shaded mode, so shades of gray, and you can now see we've made 1/2 of the boat hull. Let's rotate it this way, and again, I'm just holding shift in the middle wheel to rotate. And now we're going to mirror that. So up here on the home tab, 3D mirror, select the object you want to mirror, hit enter, and then I always like 3 points, and do it any way you feel comfortable with. And these 3 points, delete the source object, no. All right, hit escape. And now we want to merge those. So let's go over here to solid union, select the 2 bodies, hit enter. And there we have it. Our boat hull is done. Now, what I like to do in my classes sometimes is I have a boat contest. So you could build up the boat however you like. And another thing, that question that comes up quite often actually on these videos is people see how we make the boat hulls in different systems, and they're like, well, how do I flatten it? Because they want a pattern. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I have Rhino on here, but another software, oh, there is Rhino actually. I do have Rhino. Rhino, you could download a free trial of it, and you're actually able to export this as surfaces. You could explode this basically and export it as a collection of surfaces. Oh, and it's expired. Oh, let's continue. That's all right. It's just one. You know what? Unfortunately, my trial license has expired. I can't show it to you. But well, it's doing something. And that software, oh, here we go. One without saving. All right, so it still worked. And this software, actually, there is something called Flatten. I believe it's Flatten. Yeah, Flatten Surface. And you'd be able to select it. It doesn't always work the way you'd expect, especially on very complex surfaces. We could try it on here, though. And this is what you would want to do, those of you. And you could do this with any CAD system. Every CAD system that I have on my page, you know, there's 15 different CAD systems, I think. Most of them I do this boat on them, or at least several of them I do. And in theory, you should be able to do the same thing we're about to do. You could export this. In fact, if I go to File, Export, and let's see here, other formats. And if we look over here, we have 3D DXF. ACES is a very good tool. ACES is the foundation of the AutoCAD solids, so that's like as close as to a native file as you can get without on it. IGES files output very nice surfaces. That stands for Initial Graphics Exchange Specification. I'll go ahead and I'll do that. An IGES. I like IGES files. And I'm just going to put them on my desktop. All right, and now let's see if we can open that up. Can we select IGES from here? There's IGES. And it should be on our desktop. And I'm not seeing it. I could have swore I dropped it on our desktop. Anyhow, those of you not interested in this could fast forward to where I actually shown on the method. I should have practiced it ahead of time. It just hit me though thinking about it. All right. Anyhow, I'm not seeing that IGES file. I'll have to figure out. Oh, I have to select the object. There it is. Enter. Export job is processing in the background. Okay. It's done. So let's go back to Rhino. This is just going to take a minute. All right. Now File, Import. And we could select IGES again. And Desktop. E8B. Open. Rhino units are set to inches, or IGES file, millimeters, scale. Yeah, go ahead and scale it for us. Okay. So here we have it, and let's change that. Let's go to shaded, and see, I could rotate that around. Actually, the scale messed up a little bit, but that's okay. All right. And I'm gonna, it actually managed to merge everything. So here we would explode it into a collection of surfaces. And let's see. There we go. Okay, we could delete that one and delete this one. And this rotates with the middle mouse button, and you just double click over here. All right, and now let's do the flatten and see if it works. Flatten surface. Select first edge to flatten. Okay, it's been a long time since I've used it. looks like it might work actually. Oh, to the edges. Is that right? I don't know. That doesn't look like it did what I was expecting. Just put it on the plane we were looking at. Okay, anyhow, there is a tool in there. I haven't used it in a long time, but I'm sure you can find a video on it. I was just hoping to help those of you who saw this right away and like who design boats for a living, like, hey, I could go in there. But know that there is a tool, and I've used it before, and I've had moderate success. Sometimes I've gotten it to work, sometimes I haven't, but I haven't done that in like 10 years. So I just wanted to share that. All right, so now with this boat, a couple things you could do. Like you saw that I shelled it out last time. And to do that, you just go to Shell, and you could go ahead and select the boat, hit Enter, select the face. Hold on a second. Actually, let's try that again. Okay, select that. Then remove faces. We want this face removed. Hit Enter, and let's set it to 0.1. And exit. And exit. All right, so there we have our shelled out boat. All right, now for the putting in the seats, or the seating, I'll just go over here and let's see. We want to go ahead and we're going to rotate this. Actually, let's go back to the world coordinates, and then we could select the right. There we go. And now on the right side here, we could go ahead and draw in a corner rectangle. Like, let's say we want it to be based off of that. Oops. Oh, wrong plate. Let's try that again. Let's turn off the snaps. Enter. Okay. Let's go to the top view there. Let's try that one more time here. Okay. You create your little rectangle. Well, I created a line. But anyhow, with that, you just end up extruding it. Like I could go press pull here, and you pull it out. And apparently, you know, because it's only a line, it's not working. I'm going to let you guys fiddle with it. I already did it, and I'm just having a tricky day here. But anyhow, that's it. This is all you have to do, those of you in the class. But if you want to enter, if we do have a boat contest, I'll let you know. And that's just for those of you who are actually in my class at the college. Don't really have an official one or anything like that, though that would be cool. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this lesson. Thanks. And that concludes exercise